Alright, this is going to be a recipe for vegetarian, specifically vegan, baked beans. So here we go with what you're going to need. Olive oil, I got 16 ounces of red kidney beans. You can use whatever kind of beans you like, really. To 5 cloves of garlic, depending on how much you like garlic and the size of your cloves. 1 cup of vegetable stock, salt and pepper, brown sugar, and then as far as our spices back there, we've got rosemary, thyme, tarragon, garlic powder, and then we've got some sun-dried tomatoes as well, which I'm going to throw in there. 2 whole tomatoes to be diced up and added to the mix, and also tomato paste. You're going to need about 1 to 2 tablespoons of that. Those are your ingredients. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get everything ready in the dish that we're using. I'm using a Pyrex pie pan because it's the only thing I have that's the right size. I don't have any casserole dishes right now, so that's what we're going to use. You can use whatever you have that's about that size. You just want to get a nice even layer of tomatoes and beans. It's about halfway up whatever dish you use. So we'll go ahead and take our 16 ounces of cooked red kidneys, put them right there in the pan, and we're going to dice up our tomatoes. You can dice your tomatoes however you like to dice tomatoes. I like my tomatoes a little chunkier. Throw them into mix. They're going to cook down, so even if your chunks are a little bit bigger, you know, some of the moisture is going to incorporate into the rest of the mix, and they're definitely not going to be huge chunks of tomato, as you'll see when we pull it out of the oven. Speaking of the oven, you're going to want to go ahead and set it to bake on 400. Let that start preheating. Okay, so we got our 5 cloves of garlic. I'm going to get them out of the skins, give them a little smack like that, break the skins off nicely. I have to dump my stock everywhere. Okay, so once you do that, all we're going to do is skins off, make sure they're nice and clean, and throw them in. I'm going to roast in the oven with the rest of this stuff and become nice and soft and tender, and pretty much when you stir your final product up at the end, they're going to just kind of dissolve into the mix. Okay, that's our last one into the mix. And you use olive oil. In a traditional baked bean, there's going to be bacon. That's where the fat comes from, is rendered bacon. We don't have that, and we aren't going to be able to achieve exactly that flavor, but I've had these beans and they turn out really satisfying. I'm not actually even a fan of baked beans, but these end up being really good. Okay, so we've got our olive oil, our tomatoes, and our garlic in there. We can go ahead and add our seasonings though. Okay, let's add just a little bit of our stock to get some moisture in there. About 1/4 of it. And then we're going to get a spoon and give it a quick little stir. You're going to want to try to get the garlic cloves underneath of everything else. If they're exposed directly to the heat, they can burn, and burnt garlic tastes bitter. Nobody wants that, so just kind of stuff that in there to retain a nice sweet garlic flavor. It's going to kind of incorporate throughout the whole thing. Alright. We're going in the oven 400 degrees with our baked beans. And set our timer to 40 minutes. Alright, our timer's set for 40 minutes. We're going to let that go, and then we'll come back and put the finishing touches on and bake it for another 20 minutes. Okay, it's been 40 minutes, so we're going to take our beans out of the oven. Oh yeah, they smell very good. Our final ingredients, which are the rest of the stock. You'll notice that they did get a little dry on top in the oven. It's alright, because we're adding that stock. We're also going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste, actually probably two tablespoons. I'm going to give it a quick stir. And obviously we're trying to get tomato paste all dissolved into there. Our tomatoes are starting to get nice and soft, our garlic's getting soft, everything's kind of just breaking down, getting where it needs to be. So the last thing we're going to add in is brown sugar. And again, we're mixing in. And that's just the right amount of sweetness to get flavor exactly where you want it. Now at this point, they're obviously not done cooking. There's a lot of moisture still in there. You're going to let that cook out for another about 20 minutes. But you can taste your beans and see if the flavor's right and adjust whatever you need to adjust. Those are pretty good. So we got everything all set up in there. We're going to put them back in the oven. Carefully, you don't want to slop any of that stuff into your the bottom of your oven. Alright, beans are in. We're going to set our timer for another 20. And then we'll come back and see how we did. Okay, so we just pulled our beans out of the oven. That last 20 minutes gave the stock and the tomato paste an opportunity to incorporate in with the beans and get thickened up a little bit with the brown sugar. So we got a nice traditional type baked beans, but with no meat or anything in them. So there it is, vegan baked beans. I hope you enjoyed my first cooking video. Hopefully there'll be more to come.